River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Niner Nuts. I am Dan here with Eric. Eric, how we doing? Say hello.
Well, we're coming off a loss, so been better, Dan.
Yeah, nope, same here. I don't know. I feel like I clinged on. I feel like I'm trying to. How should I phrase this? I think you got a little more deflated than earlier than I did. So to say, is that fair to say? Like,
oh, yeah.
Or were you?
Yeah.
No, I definitely want to highlight some positives that were definitely positives in this game, but the bigger story is there are some pretty glaring problems that need to be addressed sooner than later after this game. But let's go ahead and do the nerdy number stuff I like to do. We lost in Minnesota 23-17. We've not won in Minnesota since 1990. I learned that this weekend. So that's kind of depressing. We've beaten them. We've beaten them, but just not in Minnesota, which is very just odd. Just what one place is our kryptonite? It's them. So that's just kind of odd. But Purdy still came out with an okay passer rating of 101, 300 passing yards, 1 touchdown. First pick of the year, though, and he also lost a fumble. Or he didn't throw a pick last week, did he? He didn't throw a touchdown or a pick last week, right?
No.
And then the turf monster got him to drop a fumble, which was kind of funny, but also not funny. But then on the other side, Sam Darnold had a 109 rating for 268, 2 touchdowns and a pick, and he didn't lose a fumble, but one of his cohorts did. On the rushing side, Mason did hit 100 yards again, had a touchdown. No one else really did anything. Isaac Garendo was out for 1 play, and then that was enough for him. And then Devo actually ended up with negative yards, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Ty Chandler, Sam Darnold, Aaron Jones, they all did some decent work on the ground collectively, going over 100 total yards. On the receiving end, Debo did much better in terms of catching versus targets. He was 8 for 10 for 110. Kittle went over 60 yards. He has 76 in our lone touchdown. A better day, but still a quiet day for Brandon Ayuk. 43 yards. Juwan Jennings. We tried to get other people involved to a little return, but on the other side, Justin Jefferson, mainly on the back of a 97-yard touchdown, which we will definitely address. He still had 133 yards. Jalen Naylor got a touchdown after the block punt. He had 54 yards. And then, like I said, we lost a fumble from Purdy. Anyway, defensively, I'm not going to go through all these stats. And then Jake Moody only attempted 3 kicks. But anyway, he's not going to win Special Teams Player of the Year or of the week this week. All right, so all that.
No, that goes to the Commanders kicker who won the game with 7 field goals.
Oh, dude, right? No, he's the NFC one for sure.
Yeah.
Actually, the last numbers, Aaron Jones lost a fumble on that side, and I just, this is a big thing. That is a big reason that I think we lost this game. Along with one other specific stat why I think we lost this game. We beat Minnesota 3-2 in the turnover battle. Like, yeah, we lost the ball twice, but we took the ball away one more time than them. And look at all we got to show for it. We only had 17 points. Mm-hmm. The other biggest thing that is why we lost this game is right here. Right here. We were 2 for 10 on third downs, and they were 7 for 12. I have not watched the all 22. I don't know specifically who to blame for that. This being something wrong with both sides. We were not calling the right plays on third down. Either that or Brian Flores knew what we were doing before we were doing. And then on the other side of the ball, we were just caught on our toes 7 out of 12 times. That is not good. And those were the biggest takeaways I took away from this game were even though we fought tooth and nail on defense, defensively, I think we were doing exceptional this year, especially Fred Warner and Diamador Lenore. They are playing their asses off this year. But something's just not clicking on offense and something's not clicking on defense, specifically when it's third down. And Minnesota tried to give us this game a couple times, just like we tried to give them the game a couple times, and then we ultimately did. But it's not Brock's fault. It's not the punter's fault. There's not one specific player to blame for this game. I don't know if you want to go like super simplified on it. I'd say it's this and not capitalizing on the turnover battle. So I don't know. Brian Flores figured out Kyle Shanahan and whatever. I forgot the coach. The Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell figured out Nick Sorensen. Like that's what it seemed. That's how it comes off to me at the end of the day. Like we had opportunities to capitalize and we didn't. And even though Minnesota tried to give us the game a couple times, they blocked a punt. They hit a 97-yard touchdown. They made the big splashy plays that we didn't. And that was all that was needed at the end of the day. That and making sure they didn't turn the ball over on third down. What do you think about the game?
Well, let me hit on a couple of good things first. I want to call out Fred Warner, who is playing phenomenal so far this season. He's got two forced fumbles. He's got a pick. He's all over the field, making tackles. So he's playing fantastic so far this season and really doing a good job of leading that defense.
Absolutely.
He's doing everything that he can out there. And then Mason continues to tote the rock well for the team, filling in for McCaffrey. And we're going to continue to see Mason for the next at least 3 more weeks. I'm not going to sit here and say that there's no drop off from having Christian McCaffrey out there because, I mean, McCaffrey is an all-world kind of player, but Mason's put up back-to-back 100-yard games here and scored touchdowns in both games. And he's running really hard. He's running with a purpose, and he's making plays happen. And it's clear that the 49ers have a lot of faith in him and when they're giving him the ball and stuff like that. I think the only thing that they're not really doing is utilizing him as a receiver out of the backfield very often. That's probably where the McCaffrey element is missing there in his game. You can see there he had 1 target. McCaffrey certainly gets a lot more targets out of the backfield than that. So that's probably the element there where he's holding them back a little bit. But as far as the running game has been concerned, he has more than adequately filled in for McCaffrey in that regard. So I think those have both been good things. Debo has played fairly well. I thought that he played pretty good in the first game. I thought that he was playing well in this particular game, at least from a receiving standpoint. He couldn't really get anything going on the ground, but he was making catches in this game that were very, very good. I mean, he was going up and high pointing the ball a lot of times on Purdy's throws. Some of those
I really questioned the accuracy. Like, bro, like, did you mean to throw it that high? Like,
right. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And I don't know. There's a handful of throws that Purdy threw just like he did last week, where it's like, oh, Jesus Christ, dude. Like, you're really scaring me with where you're trusting that traffic's going to open up just right.
Yeah. Yeah, but Debo went up and he made a lot of catches in this game, and he's been playing really well. And to that point, Kittle has played well too. I mean, I know he only had 4 receptions last week, but he had 7 this week. He's making the plays. He's averaging about 10 yards a reception right now, give or take. and he's being a reliable second option for Purdy as well. So I think those are the things that I see that the Niners are doing well, and so I don't think that that's necessarily all doom and gloom. Just because we lost this one particular game. Now there are some things that are bad. We're paying a certain receiver a whole lot of money now, and he's been basically non-existent for 2 games at this point in time, which is disheartening at this point in time. And I can only hope that as the season goes on and he gets a bit more games underneath of him and gets some more reps, that Ayuk gets into better game shape, I guess, and becomes more productive, because right now he's not a contributing factor in either game. So that's been pretty disappointing. And
he's not
then
a distraction like CMC is. Like, that's an intangible that only Christian McCaffrey does, is he becomes a distraction, and he can get people he can give our receivers some extra unintentional separation because they're focused on where the hell's Christian. Brandon doesn't have that. So like,
yeah,
it'd be one thing if everybody was like trying to double team Brandon, but they don't need to.
yeah, he's just been, I mean, he did have 4 catches in this game, but they were just kind of there. I mean, they weren't very impactful. I mean, Jennings has been the better receiver across 2 games so far. And then the coverage defensively, which I assume is one of the things that you want to talk about here at some point in time, has not been great. Our back 4, specifically the safeties, have been bad over the last 2 games in coverage, and
Yeah,
that's going to be
we need
something.
hoof back.
Yeah, that's going to be something that we need to fix, or teams are going to continue to exploit that by throwing deep against us and taking advantage of our safeties not being able to cover. And that's what you saw in this particular game. As now, let's give him credit. Justin Jefferson is Justin Jefferson, and he did just basically just turn on the jets and run past Odom and Brown. And I mean, sometimes that happens. But then, later in the game when Naylor scored his touchdown, Ward and I think it was Odom again just got crossed up on who was supposed to take him, and they both went with the guy in the flat and just let Naylor walk in all alone.
That was Ward. I remember that play. Ward and Brown were yelling at each other, and they both followed, like you said, the guy that went in. And so Naylor just went right behind. He went right behind Brown, and Brown had no idea he went behind him. So that was bad.
Yeah. So I mean, you had that, and then in week 1, Lazard, caught 2 touchdowns, and one of them was, it was on a free play, one of those Aaron Rodgers specials, but it was still a deep shot against our safeties that they scored a touchdown on. So I mean, that seems to be an area of concern right now, is that these deep shot plays to our safeties, we don't seem to be able to defend. And we're going to play teams throughout the season. I mean, the NFL is a passing league now, and we're going to play teams throughout the season who are going to actively exploit that as we continue to go forward. So we got to fix that.
Odom is a special teamer. So the fact that he's out there, that's because Hufanga is out. Like, he's not supposed to be a starting safety. He just is by necessity. And then Brown, he's in his second year, so you can say, oh, he's still young, but I mean, that's only going to carry you so far when you're blowing big plays like this and looking as confused on the field as he did a handful of times already.
Yeah, I mean, I am understanding the fact that he is a second-year player, and I mean, he is going to see wrinkles and looks and things that he probably hasn't seen before, and he is occasionally going to get fooled. I mean, I'll grant you that. I mean, that's going to happen, but when you get fooled and you give up a big long touchdown, that's a problem. So
yeah, no, I wasn't
mean,
trying to defend him. I'm saying that, like, yeah, he's young, but I mean, in your second year, like, you gotta be more situationally aware, at least, than he was here in Minnesota. that Jefferson catch, he could have. It looked like he almost got lost in the lights, like because I saw him spin a couple times, and then just yelling at Ward, not knowing where to be on the touchdown after the block punt. That was also on him. Like
Yeah.
Hufunga's not gonna fix him. Hufunga's just gonna be better than George Odom at the end of the day.
Yeah. And then to your earlier point, I mean, let's not discount the fact that Brian Flores is a really good defensive coordinator. And it's clear that he came up with some sort of a defensive scheme that confused Purdy. There were a number of times that Purdy dropped back, and it was clear that he either didn't have anywhere to go with the ball. I haven't seen the all 22 tape either. So it was either clear that he didn't have anywhere to go with the ball, or he didn't know where to go with the ball, because usually he drops back, he hits his spot, and boom, the ball comes out and it's going to one of our guys. But there were a number of times, as you identified with the 6 sacks up there, where he dropped back and he had to stop and he had to hold the ball because where he was trying to go with it wasn't available, or he didn't know where to go with it. And then there were a number of times where he threw into what to me was a guy that I was like, well, he was very clearly covered. I'm not quite sure why you were throwing the ball at him, Brock, but okay, I guess whatever decision you want to make. So
was that the almost pick to George Kittle deep down the sideline?
Yeah. And the one that he threw to like Debo too, where there was a guy that was just like right on him as well. So they did something defensively, scheme wise, that very much seemed to confuse them. And hopefully other teams don't figure out what that is and run that against us the rest of the season, because that's going to present problems for us if they do, because it clearly rattled Brock. It clearly made him very unsure of what he was doing back there, and it forced him into those 6 sacks. Now, I mean, the rest of his day wasn't really terrible. Yeah, he had the one pick and he had the weird fumble where the ball just kind of like flopped up out of his hand weirdly. I mean, just, I don't know. When stuff like that happens, I'm like, it's just not your day. I mean, you get the blocked punt, you get the weird fumble. Sometimes the football gods are not on your side, but I don't have any real long-term concerns over Purdy. That didn't strike me after this game in any way, shape, or form. But, I just think that we got a little bit outcoached from that defensive side of things. I think, to your point, he knew what Kyle's scheme was about and kind of took him out of play.
Yeah. No, and if anybody's yelling at their stereo, yes, this is obviously also part of what I was talking about, getting out coached. Brian Flores completely flummoxed Purdy, but still, this is how good Purdy is. He still had a 101 passer rating. So this is not at all a dig on I heard somebody jokingly say we let the wrong quarterback go to Minnesota, but he was saying that just to get a rise out of the other guy. But but to that real point, that's still how good Purdy is. So he's going to be worth the $60 million when we end up paying him next year. But good God, we got to figure out what the hell is going on the offensive line. How much of it was Flores versus our personnel? Because if my memory serves me right, our offensive line is not that bad. No, I would assume it's still in the top 10, if not the top 5. But 6 sacks is very uncharacteristic. And Trent Williams giving up one of them, too, is extremely uncharacteristic. And let's look at how lopsided that is. We only got to that Ty Chandler one. I don't necessarily count, but 3 sacks on Sam Darnold. Where did our rush go? I greatly underestimated Minnesota's offensive line. I knew they signed one of their tackles to a big extension over the offseason, one of the notably big extensions. Yeah, I will take a personal L for underestimating that line. They kept Sam Darnold up, and we were down. That's just we didn't win in the trenches, and Brian Flores knew exactly how to make and break holes to get him down 6 times. I think he was pressured 13 times.
Yeah, and I mean, he I mean, they talked a lot about it on the broadcast, and it was well known going into the game is that Flores blitzes a lot, and it seemed like the 49ers line was not really prepared and able to stand up to that blitz. I mean, he came with a lot
Not
of
at
different
all.
looks. Yeah, he came with a lot of different looks and a lot of different ways to bring that pressure. It wasn't just like, stand up and here we come or whatever. He'd put 6, 7 on the line and then drop 3 out, send 4, or well, it's not a blitz, but drop 2 out, send 5, or send 6, or whatever he would do. But he was shifting guys all around and doing stunts and stuff and everything like that. And we didn't hold up very well against that blitz. And I think that's worrisome because everybody can blitz. That doesn't require a whole lot of scheming. It doesn't require a whole lot of finesse. That just requires putting some guys up there and rushing. So
how many coordinators are Brian Flores, though? Like, clearly not every coordinator is Brian Flores. Like, strictly thinking on defense, like if Todd Bowles wasn't the head coach of the Bucs, like he could do it. But other than that, like if there's one sigh of relief we can take out of this is like, okay, this might be the most intense defensive line we see the rest of the season. Maybe I'm knocking on wood, but there is only one Brian Flores, luckily.
Yeah, but I mean, if other teams look at the tape and they see, oh, well, they didn't hold up so well against the blitz. I mean, maybe they're not going to blitz 50, 60% of the time like Flores does, but if they're going to blitz 25, 30% of the time instead, which might be uncharacteristic for them, but something that they do and adapt when they're facing us instead to try to rattle us. And, maybe they, uncharacteristically blitz on a 2nd and 7, or they blitz, when it's definitely a passing down or something like that. I mean, you don't know, but I mean, if we're going to struggle picking that up and that's going to be a theme to our season, more teams are going to do it. And we're going to have to adjust and do something better with it, or else it's going to continue to be a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I just started scrolling through the stats just hold on. Ooh, glad you didn't hear that. Dr. Pepper making a comeback. I was looking through to just see if there's any other interesting stats to really kind of pick apart on here. I mean, I think we kind of really nailed the biggest issues on this was that our third down efficiency, which in part you can blame on the rush, the way that Brian Flores was figuring out sending those blitzes or not sending those blitzes, and then everybody's back and Purdy's like, oh, okay, there's more people. No one's as open as I thought, and then he stands too long and then takes a sack anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, the defense. I mean, we only gave up 23 points. 23 points isn't a ton of points, especially when typically our offense scores 30 plus every game.
Look at this too. Our total yards were almost identical. We won the turnover battle. I don't know why that doesn't say 3-2. Look at how, and we even killed them in the time of possession overall. But we had a blocked punt, so
yeah. Well, I mean, to that point, we gave up a lot of short fields, right? So I mean, we gave up. We gave up a short field on the block punt. We gave up a short field on the weird Purdy poof fumble, and then we gave up, a giant touchdown on the 97-yard touchdown to Jefferson. So, I mean, the plays that the Vikings scored on, it wasn't like the Vikings really marched up and down the field on us and sort of dominated us and rolled all over us throughout the day and kicked our teeth in. I mean, they kind of just scored on a couple of turnovers and a big bomb of a play. I don't think that the defense really as a whole played poorly. I think this game really rests more on the offense more than anything. I mean, like if you think about it, the offense only put up 17 points, and that was with us kicking a field goal in the last, minute and a half or whatever that it was. So, I mean, really, we'd only put up 14 points at that point in time. So, I mean, like you're telling me that the defense has to hold a team under 14 points for us to win. I mean, that's not very realistic. So,
Right.
You know,
I would
I
say
don't,
it was a sorry, I was gonna say I would say it was a silver lining, and I was still holding on hope that like, yo, it's a one-score game. It's 13-7 at halftime. We're okay. We can come back. And then they scored. And then we had a touchdown, but then they kicked that field goal, and then we kicked the field goal, and like at that point when they were trying to onside kick, and I'm like, dude, you have to announce it. We can't surprise them. Like we're toast. Like even
yeah.
before then, even before then, I was just like, okay, yep. After they scored that touchdown, I was just like, yeah, nope, just kidding, we're toast.
Yeah. So I mean, it just I don't really pin this game on the defense. I just pin this game more on the offense. I mean, the offense has got to be better. I mean, this is another, you know, if we go back to last season, here we are again sitting on 17 points and a loss. I mean, how many
Yeah.
games did we lose last season where we were stuck on 17 points and we lost? You know, I mean, it's either we score 35 points and blow somebody out of the water, or we score 17 points and we lose. And I mean, it's weird, but that seems to be how the Niners offense works. So we've got to be able
And
to figure out some sort of middle ground where we can actually score more than 17 points and win a game.
yeah. And then oh Lord, in Kyle's tenure, being down at any point, not just entering, but at any point in the fourth quarter, I think he's because the numbers were slightly outdated when I found the only record I could. I think the record now is like 2-32. I think when we're trailing at any point in the fourth quarter under Kyle Shanahan, which is just absurd. That is, we are not a fourth quarter team if we're not in the lead. That just I don't know, call it as an objective of truth as you want. Like, I don't think that really is, but that's a very disturbing trend. Just like the 17 points that you pointed out is a very disturbing trend.
Yeah. Well, if James was here, he would sit here and say that, you know, Kyle coaches to lose. So, I mean, he would tell you that. So,
He coaches to not lose. He doesn't coach to win. Yeah.
yeah. So, but I mean, I thought Kyle was very aggressive, at least early on in that game. I mean, there were a couple of times that he went for it on fourth down that he, at least early in the game, doesn't usually go for it on fourth down. So I was kind of surprised to see that. I thought that was very interesting, and I thought it was very aggressive on his part. I kind of
I
liked
thought
it
it was
to a degree.
I thought it was a little too aggressive. Like not the play calling. I like that he was going for it. Like, but the way the cadence that he was calling the plays and um it felt like they were trying to run a 2-minute drill, and I swear there was like 8 or 9 minutes left in the second quarter after the Justin Jefferson touchdown. And I'm like, yo, take a breath, dude. Like, this isn't almost halftime. Like, take a breath, control the clock. We're not out of it right now, dude. Like, this doesn't have to be a 2-minute drill.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, there's a troublesome trend of continuing to start out slowly for whatever reason. I mean, this is now the second game in a row that the Niners have come out and looked like crap in the first quarter. So I don't really know what to do about that. I don't really know what the problem with that is. I mean, I know Kyle is one of those guys that schemes and, I'm trying to think, presets his first 15, 20 plays, that he's going to run. And for whatever reason, that's not working this season. We're struggling mightily for the first quarter. And we're just not getting it going. And usually we're having to fight out of a hole, coming out of the first quarter, being down, 3, 6, 7, 10 points, whatever it is, early on, and having to play from behind. And as you just pointed out, Dan, we don't necessarily play from behind very well. So we've got to be able to get out and get to a lead and be able to stomp people while they're down, because that's what we do best. And we haven't been able to do that so far.
With that in mind, having to change things up on offense, I don't ask this to exclusively be a preview into the Rams, but literally breaking news. We tape this episode on Mondays. This was breaking news. Literally, we've been going at this for half an hour. So like 45 minutes ago, Kyle said that Debo is going to be out a few weeks because of calf strain. So, oh, did you not see my text about that?
No.
Oh, I will. Well, I'll show you the picture too that went with it. Because yeah, Shefty, Ian, everybody. Right before.
This is exactly what I thought was going to happen this season, man. This is exactly what I thought was going to happen this season.
I don't know if I need to make that brighter or dimmer. But yeah, right there. That I know you can't read that, but yeah, Debo out a couple weeks. So now we're down Christian McCaffrey. We're down Christian McCaffrey for probably another month. Now we're going to be. We were already without Christian McCaffrey for still upwards of a month. Now we might lose Debo for a month. Like if we interpret a couple weeks like that, it's easy to say, okay, time to step up Juwan and Kittle and Brandon, but our two most what's the right adjective? Our most versatile and unpredictable players are both gone now. This sucks.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, yeah, geez. No, I didn't see that. This is everything that I thought. I mean, we talked about this way earlier in the season, but this is everything that I thought was going to happen this season. I told you guys that I thought this was going to be a lot more like 2020 than I thought it was going to be more like 2022. And here we are with two of our main guys already down. I personally think the CMC thing is going to be a season long thing. I think if we see him at all, it's going to be very sparingly and very limited. It's going to be pain management. Yeah,
it'll be pain management based for sure. Like tendonitis just doesn't go away.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see him hardly at all this season, if at all, to be honest. And then the Debo thing, like I just got done talking about that the guy's been pretty darn good for the last 2 games. And then here we are again, the same thing that I say about him every single season. The best ability is availability. And what is he again? Hurt. He never makes it through an entire season without being hurt. The dude misses 3 to 4 games every single season. I like Debo a lot. I think he brings a lot to the team. I think he brings a lot of fire. I think he brings a lot of pep. I think he brings a lot from a captain perspective. I think he brings a lot of motivation. I mean, I watched the Receiver Show on Netflix. I got a lot of respect for the guy. You cannot pay the dude $26 million if he's not out there on the field every single week. You just can't. So he is either taking a big pay cut next season or he's gone, period, point blank. That's just the end of the case on him.
Oh, no, he's not a free agent next year. Never mind. I forgot next year's the last year of his deal, technically.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the unfortunate reality of the situation, but he's just hurt every single season. And I mean, it cripples the team because, like you said, right now we're down our 2 most versatile guys. I mean, it's very clear that Shanahan's been trying to use him as CMC light for the last couple of weeks, and now we don't even have that. So now our offense is going to look it's not going to look vanilla, but it's going to look pretty vanilla from how the 49ers offense is supposed to look in this game coming up against the Rams this week. We're not going to have
check Texas routes.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have anybody on the squad who can do the things that CMC and Debo can. I mean, we just don't. I mean, most teams don't have anybody that can do those things. We were blessed to have 2 guys that could do those things, and now they're both out. So now our offense is going to look very different than it typically does. It's going to look very bland. It's going to look very normal, and it's just not going to be good. It's going to be a real struggle for us to move the ball and do the things that we need to do, because everything that we do is made possible by all the misdirection and the mismatches that Debo and CMC generate and create out there. And now we're going to be just lining up like every other offense in the NFL because we're not going to be able to create those various mismatches. And Jennings is playing on a bad ankle already.
Yeah, Ricky's not back yet. Jacob Cowing is a strictly slot receiver. Ronnie Bell barely made the team. Trent Taylor's definitely going to get called up because of Cowing fumbling that kick return that we managed to kick successfully. But
yeah, I mean, who's gonna play behind Ayuk and Jennings? I mean, you're
without Ricky,
I
it's
guess
Trent Taylor, Jacob Cowing, and Ronnie Bell. Those are our backups. And then Schubert's behind Kittle.
Isn't Conley still on the team?
Oh, Chris Connolly. Yeah, no, sorry. It'll be Chris Connolly, Jacob Cowing, Trent Taylor. Because Trent Taylor's definitely going to get called up.
What does that do? That doesn't scare anybody.
I didn't say it would. I'm saying that's who it is.
So, well,
Ricky still on. Ricky still has 2 more weeks on PUP left, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's 2 weeks he has to still be on PUP.
Well, I mean, all right. Look, Ayuk, we just paid you $30 million. And now our, I guess, top 2 options are out for a few weeks. So here you go, buddy. Step up, make your money. I mean, I guess that's what it boils down to. I mean, you want to be the man these next few weeks, then lead the team. Lead the team by example, lead the team by on the field. Be that 7-catch, 100-yard receiver guy for the next 3 weeks, because that's what we're going to need out of him if we're going to have any sort of success. So, I mean, him and Kittle are going to have to absolutely ball out, because, I mean, Juwan is going to do his thing. I mean, I'm not going to crap on Juwan because Juwan's been really good for the last couple of weeks, but, I mean, it's clearly he's playing hurt on that ankle. But he
makes some stupid good catches if you leave him one-on-one. Like his radius is absurd.
Yeah. Yeah, and he always catches everything for a first down. Doesn't matter what it is, but but
4th and Juwan, 3rd and Juwan. No, his hands are absurd if you leave him one-on-one.
Yeah, but I mean, he's I don't know. I mean, he's
number 3 for a reason.
Yeah, and asking him to be a 2 guy is just, it's asking a lot. So I mean, can he step in and fill that hole? I don't know. I don't think that he can, and that's not a knock on him. That's just not his thing.
His ceiling is how he performed in the Super Bowl. So I mean, he can be a solid 2. If we want him to be a number 1 above Brandon, that's not happening. But the way he played in the Super Bowl, I think he could be a number 2.
I don't know if he's fast enough. That's like the thing. Like, he doesn't strike me as like being fast. So like on the outside, I just don't know that he's quick. He seems to just be like really good in the slot at like, doing his thing and kind of like shaking a guy and getting open. And then, like you said, he's got like the strong hands and the great catch radius to make those plays on the inside.
What's the bread and butter of a Kyle Shanahan offense? Start, do a little juke and then cut into the middle and just run across the middle. Jennings does that perfectly fine.
Well, that's fine. If that's what you can do, by all means, go ahead. But I mean,
Kyle doesn't live on back shoulder fades.
No, that's true. But I mean, if Ayuk doesn't have 10 targets a game for the next 3 weeks, we're doing something wrong. So, I mean, Jennings and Kittle should both have about 6 catches for, 60 to 85 yards. And I mean, God.
No,
I'm so upset now.
I'm sorry, I broke the news live.
I didn't know any of this was happening. I'm so upset.
Oh no, just check the group chat. That's like how James definitely misses some of the texts that we send. Now this is really funny.
I was busy disciplining my children.
Oh, it's funny.
And I didn't get to see it. I'm so upset. I was like, you know what? Vikings game is over. Screw it. We lost. I'm like, on to the Rams. I'm like, Cooper Kupp's hurt. Puka Nakua's hurt. I was like, we're going to kick the Rams in the teeth. I was like, I'm going to feel better next week. Now I feel like crap because we're probably going to lose this suck-ass Rams.
No, I'm not going to go that far yet because I watched 3 quarters of the Rams and Cardinals before I saw the end of the Bengals and Chiefs, and Matthew Stafford's line sucks. Like it's just an added benefit for us that Cooper is going to go on IR probably by the time people are listening to this. He'll be on IR along with Puka. Stafford's offensive line sucks ass. It is awful. So if our pass rush can actually finish getting through the line and make more than 3 sacks, we have the potential to make Matthew Stafford's life a living hell because he's only got Jefferson and his tight end and Tutu Atwell to throw to. So but again, his line sucks. He was in duress against the Cardinals all game, and they lost like 44-10. It was a massacre.
Well, yeah, the Cardinals are terrible, but well, I mean, I guess I get
not the Cardinals I saw.
you know what? The Cardinals last season had a couple of games where they looked fantastic, and then they were trash the rest of the season too. So we'll see how that plays out. I mean, I guess if I have to look at it optimistically, it's Rams, Patriots, Cardinals, Seahawks, then Chiefs, Cowboys. So if we can get Debo and CMC back before Chiefs, Cowboys, I would feel a lot better. So
that Seahawks game is a short week. That's a Thursday. So
yeah.
At least it's 10 days before the Chiefs, at least.
Yeah. So I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks to the Seahawks game, I guess.
If we can get Ricky by then too, that'll help.
Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, the Rams, I guess, are beatable. The Patriots are definitely beatable. The Patriots' offense is abysmal.
Yeah. Our defense will manhandle Jacoby. I'm not worried about that game.
Yeah, the Cardinals, I guess we'll see what happens in that game. Kyler Murray always gives us fits. I'll grant you that because he's a little stupid mobile quarterback.
They're feisty. Give it 3 weeks. I would not be surprised if they were like teetering on 500. Like that offense, if it clicks right, that offense is scary.
And the Seahawks, I don't know. I'm not sure that the Seahawks are actually any good. I mean, I know that they're 2-0, but they've kind of scraped by and skirted by in their 2 victories. So I'm not 100% sure that they're any good, but
yeah, same. I'm not entirely sold on them. They live and die on how frazzled Geno Smith gets. Like that's if Geno's frazzled, they'll fall apart.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess we could still come out of here with 1, 2 more. I mean, we still come out of here logically with 2 more wins, and oh god, we could just be 500 heading into the Chiefs and Cowboys. Oh god, that would be so terrible. Ugh.
Well, remember,
this is so bad. This season's so bad.
Remember the last 3 years, we were desperate to be at 500 before our bye week, and 2 of those 3 years, the Rams were our bounce back game. This is a little early to call the Rams a bounce back game at week 3, but I'm not going to pretend that this isn't bad, losing Debo and losing a very winnable game to the Vikings. But
yeah,
if Kyle manages to weather the storm and we're at 500 before the Chiefs, like that's the benefit of being so early in the season. Because I still remember 2 years ago, I'm looking at this game in Green Bay. That season when we went to Green Bay and won when it was -5 degrees, we were not supposed to be in the playoffs because we had 3 wins at week 7 and we still made it to the NFC Championship. So I want to try to be optimistic, but at the same time, the logical side of me is very terrified like you are. That sucks losing Debo. That sucks losing Christian McCaffrey. This could get worse before it gets better. But
yeah,
our defense still looks awesome. Jake Moody looks great. If we cannot fumble a kickoff again, that would be perfect. But no, This is only going to get better. This is only going to get better if we can figure out what the hell we're going to do on offense. Because that's what ultimately cost us the game this week. We couldn't figure out how to handle that blitz and get people open. And now without Debo and Christian, yeah, the Rams are beat to hell. They're probably the most injured roster in the league. But can we take that for granted, or is this going to be a trap game? That's what it's ultimately going to be on Sunday.
Well, I don't think it's a trap game anymore. I mean, I think that they're going to be really I think they're going to be really focused and laser focused on trying to win. I think if the fact that
it's their home opener.
Yeah, I mean, I think if the 49ers don't take that game seriously, I think that that's going to be a big surprise for them. I mean, having Debo out is only going to highlight the fact that they're going to have to really all knuckle down and you know, everybody's going to have to do more than what was to be expected. You know, one other person I wanted to give a shout out to was Dominic Pooney. He's been great on the offensive line.
Yeah.
He's playing very well and has been a really solid draft pick. And I'm glad that we picked him in the draft this past year. So he's filled out nicely on that offensive line.
100%. He and McKivitz are locking down the right side. McKivitz is looking much better. I mean, I know that's hard to say with how bad we did overall protecting him against the Vikings, but no, Pooney's been great. I don't think our offensive line as a unit is that bad. I think we just had one of those games where the gods just didn't want us to win for whatever reason. For whatever reason.
Well, they have decided to make it exponentially more difficult next week.
Yeah, no kidding. I think with that, I think this is a good point to let the people know who is sponsoring us for the second year in a row. Royal Retros. What is Royal Retros? If you didn't hear me last year, it is your go-to place to get yourself an authentic throwback jersey, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, whatever your sport, Royal Retros has you covered. Go ahead and check out the Candlestick collection. It's curated with the Bay Area in mind. And when you find something you like, use the promo code Shady Sports and you'll get 10% off of your entire order. Again, that's promo code Shady Sports at royalretros.com to get 10% off of your entire order. Go to royalretros.com and get yourself an authentic throwback jersey today. Our t-shirts. We are still selling these t-shirts, going on year 2 selling these t-shirts and still selling them for a good cause. We were outraged by Dan Snyder. We feel terrible for Panthers fans because of their owner, and just in general around the league, owners are not being held to the same standards that players are. There's far more examples than that we can list, including the Texans minority owner that I would hope former minority owner. We should follow up on that, I guess, but but we were inspired by all this to create this hashtag owner standards over player standards, hashtag owner accountability, and to show you we put our money where our mouth is. We are selling these t-shirts on bonfire.com with all the proceeds going to Mountain Comprehensive Care Center in Kentucky. So the first one has our hashtag and the saying owner standards over player standards, hashtag owner accountability. Lots of different colors for this one, lots of different shirt styles, pricing starting at $22.99. And again, the proceeds all will go to Mountain Comprehensive Care Center in Kentucky. The second shirt, this is our cover art. If you listen to us on any of the wonderful podcasting platforms out there instead of YouTube, you can wear a shirt with this art. Again, pricing starting at $22.99. Our third shirt is what we call the alternate logo. It's got a goalpost and a couple peanuts on there. And I personally think it looks best in red, but you can get it in a couple different colors. Same as the others. Pricing starting at $22.99. And then our last one is our peanut mascot. He is eating a bowl of peanuts with 3D glasses on in his comfy beanbag and his Niners hat, brushing off the dust from this loss and looking forward to our game against the Rams next Sunday. Again, pricing starting at $22.99, and all the proceeds go to Mountain Comprehensive Care Center in Kentucky. A link to bonfire.com and Mountain Comprehensive Care Center, if you want to look up more information on them, are in the show notes below. So with that, I don't know. I don't really have any other news to Trump breaking the news to you that Debo's out for a couple weeks. I don't think anything is worthy of topping that.
Well, I mean, we could talk about the fact that the Panthers have already said goodbye to Bryce Young and they've ditched him and placed him on the bench. So
I was going to say, please make that distinction. They did not cut him. They just benched him.
You might as well just send him on his way. He is Dunville in Pantherland.
Oh
So
God, poor dude, poor guy. Really, when something gets to this point, like I don't even want to like make fun of him. Like I just something's wrong with that Panthers organization. Ever since Super Bowl 50, something is just toxic and wrong with that organization. And I mean, maybe we need to find a Panthers beat writer to help try to figure out what's going on there. But just good God, something needs to change there. Like they've potentially ruined this kid's career before it could even really start.
well, I'm not sure that he was good in the first place, but he is certainly proven to not be able to make the leap with this particular team. I think. I mean, clearly after this season, he's going to be moving on to greener pastures in some way, shape, or form. Unless Dalton gets hurt at some point in time this season, he's not coming back in for whatever reason. So they're going to look to trade him at the end of the season, and he'll get a fresh start somewhere else as a backup quarterback for some other team and have an opportunity to start his career someplace else. And maybe that will be helpful for him. Or maybe he'll continue to be really, really terrible. It's hard to say, but we'll see.
Let me propose this trade because I was having, you could call it a shower thought. What if, hear it out. What if General Mills was traded to Carolina in exchange for Bryce Young? General Mills is on a 2-year extension. He could compete to be a starter because he lost his starting job in Houston, so he can compete to be a starter again in Carolina with a alleged quarterback whisperer in David Canales. And Bryce Young can go through the Houston Texans version of quarterback university with DeMeco Ryans and learn behind CJ Stroud, and then try to hit the market in 2027. Swap the players and maybe swap 5th-round picks, maybe 6th-round picks.
I mean, you would trade Bryce Young for a sack of footballs at this point in time. I mean, he's terrible. I mean, he's shown no capabilities of being an NFL quarterback. So, I mean, I don't think you'd have to toss anything in for that at all. I mean, you just got to make the money work at this point in time.
What do you think? Do you remember when David Mills played? Like he wasn't that bad. He was not CJ Stroud, but I didn't think Mills was that bad.
No, I think that's fine. I mean, I think that some team is going to be willing to send a 7th-round pick to the Panthers in the offseason to get Bryce Young. I mean, look, I mean, the kid was a number 1 draft pick just last year, right? I mean, that's the reality of the situation. And there's going to be some team out there that's going to say, hey, I'll give you a 7th round, maybe even a 6th round pick. We'll just go as crazy as a 6th round pick. 6th round pick and a 6-pack of footballs for Bryce Young. and
the equivalent of a tube of tennis balls.
yeah. And they're gonna happily ship him off to wherever because somebody is gonna think that because he was drafted number 1 in the draft, that he's got talent and they can, I'm going to mess up the word, reclimate him or whatever the right word is.
Reacclimate.
Yeah, that they can reacclimate him and make him into the quarterback that he is supposed to be. And they're going to take on that project. But I mean, who knows what crazy team that's going to be. I mean, we'll see when the season shakes out at the end, because you never know where all the dominoes are going to fall and what team is going to end up being quarterback needy. Do I think someone is going to trade for him to be their starter? By no means do I think that they're going to do that. But do I think that someone will pull him in to be their backup and to sit behind a Jordan Love or sit behind Deshaun Watson or sit behind Lamar Jackson or sit behind, I mean, sure, there's a number of quarterbacks that he could. Yeah, I mean, yeah, go have him sit behind Tua. Well, they just signed Tyler Huntley off the Ravens practice squad. But yeah, I mean, there's a number of quarterbacks that he could go sit behind and theoretically learn and be better, like to your point, and then hit free agency in 2027 and take a chance. But I mean, he's going to bounce around the league for a while still, because he was the number 1 draft pick in 2023. He's not going to completely wash out. He'll last
like
through
22.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, he's going to last through his little 4-year contract, and then someone's going to sign him to a little 2-year deal for, well, at that point in time in 2027, it'll probably be $50 million a year for a backup quarterback. So someone will sign him to a 2-year, $100 million backup quarterback deal. But someone will
Davis
sign him
Mills
to
got a 2-year 10. It's 2 years, 10 million. That's what Davis got. I'd imagine it'll be there.
Yeah, but I'm being facetious. But the money is crazy, anyways. But someone will sign him to a little 2-year, $20 million backup quarterback deal, and he'll backup quarterback somebody for a couple of years, and then probably just quietly fade away into the Neverland. But he'll have made what, $30-40 million for essentially doing absolutely nothing in the NFL. I mean, what a life. I mean, really, what a life.
The only better job is being a failed head coach.
Yeah, you at least don't get hit.
Yeah, what was it? Tom Sula and who was after Tom Sula?
Chip Kelly.
Yes, we paid Tom Sula and Chip Kelly. I don't think we were done paying them until 2020 or 21. The way their contracts overlapped, and they were both that's the best job in the world, to get paid as a fired head coach, because all those contracts are guaranteed.
Yeah. So I mean, something will shake out with that kid, and it'll be an interesting story to follow in the offseason to see what happens with him and where he goes and all that stuff. It'll just be part of the quarterback drama that's, part of every offseason. But, the Panthers are, I'm just sad because the Panthers were an easy bet every week. You just bet against the Panthers and you were guaranteed to make money. But now that they got the red rifle back in there again, I mean, they might actually win some games. So it's disappointing from a betting perspective.
I wouldn't necessarily say win, but have more than 150 yards of offense. That's that you could bet on.
Yeah, I would say so.
All right. Well, with that, oh no, that's our other gotta go timer. But yeah, guys, we'll be back on Friday. We will do some sort of parlay, I'd imagine, or a bigger deep dive into Vikings. But we'll be back on Friday, and we'll be. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Music is River Road by Justin Muth. Let's try to beat the Rams.
Later on.
River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long. River Road, where have all the women gone? Have they kissed her hand and waved you bye-bye? Have they thought about crossing your double yellow lines? River Road, they love the way